Hi everybody, this is Dr. Childs, and in this video you're going to learn a little bit more about the reading process. You've probably heard of the writing process, the revising process. If you haven't yet, you will hear about them when you read your textbook for this class. But there's also such a thing as a reading process, and this is going to help you get the most out of your reading time, help you obtain the greatest understanding of your assigned readings. The 4 steps of the reading process are as follows, and in a minute I'm going to go into more detail about each one of these. First, you preview, then you annotate, which is just a fancy way of saying you make notes, then summarize the reading assignment, and then analyze or evaluate the reading assignment. First, we'll talk about previewing the reading assignment. All of you preview reading assignments without even knowing that's what it's called when you skip ahead to see how many pages you have left to read, when you look to see how long the reading assignment is. That is part of previewing the reading assignment. You also need to know where and when was the text first published. It makes a difference if an article was first published in the New York Times or the National Enquirer, doesn't it? Where a text is published says a lot about what sort of text it is. You also want to find out whatever you can about the author. Who is the author? Is the author a doctor? Is she a model? Is she an actress or a mother? Does she have a degree from Harvard? The information that you can find about the author, again, is going to tell you something about the text. Frequently, your supplemental reading assignments, which you will find in the folder in Blackboard for each module, is going to have a little blurb about the author on the first page of the essay. That might be in italic font, it might be right under the title, it might be at the bottom of the page, but look around for that little informative blurb because it can really help you learn something about the text before you even start reading. Also, read the title. I know some students skip reading the title, but that's a mistake. Reading the title tells you a lot about what the text is going to be about. So read it, spend a little bit of time thinking about it. What does it tell you about how the author wants you to think about or perceive that text? Also notice, is the text divided into sections? Do the sections have subtitles or subheadings? What do those section titles tell you about what the article says or how the article is organized? Just reading over those section subheadings, if the article does have them, can give you a really good overview of what the article is about. The second step is to annotate or make notes. Studies have shown that students who take effective notes do much better on exams and research papers. So taking notes on your reading is a really important skill to learn. Don't just mindlessly highlight or underline. Highlighting and underlining doesn't do you any good unless you are selecting the important passages, the important points. Learning how to do that takes practice, but we'll talk about a few techniques you can use right here. First thing is you want to make note of where you think the thesis or the main idea of the text is. This may be in the first paragraph or near the beginning of the essay. It may be in the conclusion. It may be anywhere in the essay, but read through and figure out what you think is the main point. Reading the title can give you a general idea as well of what to look for. You also want to highlight keywords, especially ones in bold or italics. It's very important to understand the terms that are being used in a reading assignment. Those are good things to highlight. You also should make questions in the margins. What occurs to you as you are reading the essay? Do you feel like the author needed more information? Is there a point that you don't understand? Write that down in the margin. That is something that it might be useful to discuss in class, or it will at least help you kind of focus your thinking so that if the author answers that question later on in the reading assignment, you will already be attuned to it. You also should write your own personal responses or ideas. If you disagree or agree, or if something the author said kind of sparks your own interest or inspires you in some way, write that down in the margins. You also want to look up the definitions of any unfamiliar words and write that down in the margins as well. It's been shown that memorizing words off vocabulary lists is not really an effective way to improve your vocabulary. The most effective way is when you learn words by reading them in their context. Now, since you have highlighted what the thesis or the main idea is, that is going to help you figure out what else in the essay is important. What major supporting points do you find in the essay? They should tie directly back to the thesis or the main idea. After you've finished annotating and making notes, after you've read through the essay at least once, you want to restate the main idea and the main supporting points in your own words. So don't just read something and then forget about it. Write down what you think the main idea is. If you're in a class where you have quizzes, writing a summary of your reading assignments will really help you succeed on quizzes and exams, and of course on papers. The fourth step of the reading process, the final one, is to analyze or evaluate the text. Analyzing means breaking it down into its component parts in order to gain a complete understanding of the text. This means that you look at the details, that you understand every piece and how those pieces are working together in order to communicate the main point of the text. You want to think about what biases or special perspectives might the author have. For instance, in one of the essays that you'll read this week called Save Me Mickey, the author is an immigrant. So she's going to have a different perspective than a child who was born in California and never left the state. You also want to consider, does the author provide enough evidence to support the main idea? That's really the heart of any text that makes it good or bad. Does the essay have a strong idea, and does the author provide enough evidence to support that main idea? Is the text well organized? Is it coherent or incoherent? Is it easy to follow or difficult to follow? These are just some questions to get you started evaluating the essay. Once you have really examined the essay and thought about it, then you can come up with a kind of a cohesive statement about whether or not you think the essay is effective, whether or not it accomplishes its main idea.